Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is based off the book with the same name, and it's directed by Tim Burton, and it's about this kid played by Asa Butterfield named Jake, who after losing someone very close to him in his family, starts learning more about these people called Peculiars, who are kind of like the X-Men except not as good as the X-Men. He eventually finds out that they all live in loops, where the past 24 hours where they created the loop is still there, and they can stay there for the rest of their lives. And this particular loop that he goes to is led by Miss Peregrine, played by Eva Green, and there Jake meets all these kids, interacts with them, learns a little bit more about the world, and also learns a little bit more about an evil force that might become a big problem for them soon, called the Hollows. I have not read the original book, but I am a huge fan of Tim Burton. I'm also a huge fan of the writer Jane Goldman. She's worked with Matthew Vaughn on Kick-Ass and Kingsman before. But Tim Burton is very special to me. I pretty much like all of his films. Yeah, Planet of the Apes, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Alice in Wonderland, those aren't too good. But for the most part, I really do like what he puts out. And seeing the trailers for this movie, it promised Tim Burton's X-Men, pretty much, and that actually made me excited. And that is definitely the best part of this movie. Tim Burton himself, as a director, he's very unique, especially visually. The color palettes actually changed, I noticed, when they cut to the loop and the real world. It was very clever. They cut from dark gray, kind of dark blue, to then these bright colors that I really liked. And also some of the visuals, like some of the CGI that shows up, that looked really good. And there's a couple things where I think they use stop motion, because I had the same kind of movements that a stop motion thing would have, and Tim Burton doesn't seem like the guy who would use CGI for something stop motion. Tim Burton also did a fantastic job at creating this world for us. There's a lot of interesting things going on with the peculiarity of this place, especially with the kids. They all were very interested. As soon as they all popped up on screen, I was like, yes, I want to get to know you more. You seem like a very interesting character. You seem awesome. And Ella Purnell, who plays Emma, her peculiarity is air. She's light as air, but can also control air. I thought she was the best one out of them. I think she did a really good job in the role. But also, Eva Green stole the show as Miss Peregrine. Even though she's not in it a whole lot, she does enough to stand out among everyone else. She's kind of a very mysterious, over-the-top caretaker, and I think she did a fantastic job as the role. I think she was actually born to play this character. Pretty much everything involving this world of peculiarity I was so interested in. I wanted the entire movie to just focus on this world, which is where I'm gonna have to segue into my cons. There are a couple moments where Jake has to go away from the loop for a bit and go back to the real world because there's some things going on there. Unfortunately though, I didn't really think the stuff going on in the real world actually built any character or actually had anything interesting going on with the characters or any drama. So whenever they cut away from this actually interesting part of the story and just to this kind of boring part that kind of halts the movie, overall it just kind of messed up the pacing instead of actually feeling like it fit in with the story. And one of the reasons that Jake pretty much leaves the loop is to just show that, oh yeah, his parents are still a thing, but the movie kind of just forgets about them, like near the end of the movie anyways. Or maybe the makers of this movie legitimately just forgot to put them in the rest of the movie, and when they were editing the film they were like, oh crap! We forgot about the parents, and they were starting to schedule a reshoot to put in more scenes with them, and then they were just like, well, do we need to? I don't think so. I think we're good without them. And it just kind of overall proved that the real world, there really isn't anything interesting going on. And speaking of that, Jake, as a character, there's nothing really going on interesting with him either. When the movie started playing and they revealed a tragic loss happened, I was like, oh, is this gonna weigh on him in any way dramatically throughout the rest of the movie? Maybe we'll have some good character growth. And from the character, I just never really got that bugged him so much. And it was supposed to be kind of this big thing, but said dramatic thing just didn't come into play in the way that I would have wanted it to. Maybe would have been best for the movie. And also Asa Butterfield, I like him. Like in Hugo, Ender's Game, I think he's great. However, in this movie, he's just fine. And not the fine where he's like, oh, he's passable. It's very much fine where sometimes he's alright, but then he just kind of gives up. Imagine you're experiencing this whole new world with these people with special abilities that you have had no idea of until now. Your reaction would probably be like, holy crap! This is amazing! Whoa, what's that? Jake's reaction in this movie, if I had to describe it, it's kind of like you're being told a story by someone you may or may not like too much, and you have to seem a little bit interested in it, because if you don't, then you're a jerk, but you just really don't care what they're talking about, so as they're talking, you're just like, oh, yeah, cool. That's pretty cool. Like, oh, I see. That was pretty much Jake's reaction to this world, like, oh, wow, loop, oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's neat. Like, this is a whole new world for you, or are you not amazed? And unfortunately, we're stuck with this kind of boring protagonist throughout the entirety of this movie when we could be focusing on the actually interesting characters, that is, the kids. There are a lot of cool kids that we meet that have really cool abilities, like the twins, the girl with the mouth in the back of her head, the really strong girl who can manipulate, like, trees and grow vegetables out of the ground, a kid with a weird eye thing. Like, we could be focusing on all of these guys. Why are we stuck with this boring guy? And to make matters worse, he only really interacts with Emma throughout the majority of the movie, which is fine. It's not like they were terrible together or anything like that. It's just it really did kind of take away from focusing on this actually interesting part of the movie. And they also focus on the wrong peculiar child to focus on, that guy being Enoch. He's being followed around by this girl named Olive. Her peculiarities: she can have fire just appear by anything she touches. And there was nothing wrong with her. I thought she was fine. I just would have preferred if she was in the forefront rather than Enoch. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Enoch was a whiny douche who pretty much throughout his entire performance just gives evil glares at Jake because, oh, his peculiarity is possessiveness and he doesn't like Jake getting in his life. It's that kind of douche character that we've seen before. Something new comes into his life and he doesn't like it, and some stuff from the past, blah 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 blah. A little bit cliched. There are some cliches that do happen in this movie, one of them being him. One of the biggest things I was disappointed by in this movie was one of the biggest reasons why I was excited to see this movie. Samuel L. Jackson. Now, I already love him as an actor. Samuel L. Jackson's one of my favorites. He's the greatest. And when I saw he was in this movie from the advertisements and his look and the posters and stuff, I was hooked. I couldn't wait to see what he did as the villain in this movie. And he is very entertaining. Samuel L. Jackson gave a very entertaining performance. His character pretty much acts exactly like Samuel L. Jackson, making jokes every other sentence. It was great. However, as far as actual motivation, it wasn't there. I understood what he was trying to do. It was just the why part. Why did he want to do this that they never really delved into? Sure, he's a very fun part to the movie, and I really enjoyed the scene involving him, eyeballs, and it'll probably lead to younger children being scarred for the rest of their lives, but I just wanted to know why he wanted to do the thing he wanted to do. They never really delved into that. I was a fan of the peculiar world that Tim Burton had created, from his color palette to the visuals to the acting from Eva Green and the kids. All that stuff was very good. Unfortunately, though, they decided to pretty much explain this world to us through expositional dialogue, when they should have just let us experience this new world and have things just come naturally to us with Jake. It would have been so much better if we just experienced the world instead of just having someone like Miss Peregrine come up and go, oh yeah, let me explain this thing for you real quick. Or Emma coming up going, oh, let me just explain what's happening with these people and stuff. And it's not like expositional dialogue is terrible, it's just when it's used for the majority of the movie, it just doesn't really work. But as I did mention though, I do appreciate this movie. I do appreciate Tim Burton's approach to this film. I think he did a good job as far as visuals go with the movie. I think the performances for the most part were pretty good. Even Samuel L. Jackson, even though I was disappointed by him. But unfortunately, we are stuck with a very boring protagonist. We're stuck with some pacing issues too that kind of make the movie feel a little clumsy as well. However, I can say that I was entertained throughout. This isn't really a boring movie or anything, it's just I wish it could have been a lot better than what it was. I'm going to give Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children a B-. I think if you're a big fan of the book, maybe the book is exactly the same and you'll love it. But for me, a guy who just wanted to see a good Tim Burton movie, I haven't read the books, I would have liked if the plot was a little more focused. I would have liked if the pacing was a little bit better. I would have liked if we had a better protagonist. And I also would have liked if we had a better villain, but I was entertained by it enough with its style, and I do appreciate the world building that Burton did. I just wish they would have done a lot more with it. But if you've seen Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.